My name is Mike Hamilton. I work in residential services. I'm going to talk a little bit about social media. We're going to spend some time, we're going to talk about teams, organizations, groups, things that you may work in the future or things that you currently work in now. We're going to talk about how to best incorporate social media into those groups for you in the future. Now, many believe, and this is including me, that best practices are usually the standard for looking at any given situation and figuring out how you're going to proceed. However, when it comes to social media, many of the best practices are still being established. Every day there's new technology being developed, new ways of looking at things, and new things that are added in. Take Facebook, for example. Every day you turn it on, there's something different about Facebook. They add new functions to it, so you have to be keeping up with those functions. As a group, as a team, as individuals, you need to be ready to keep your social media plans and strategies constantly evolving, keeping up with what the changes are and what new technology becomes available. Books that are out there, there's some great books on social media, but they're frameworks. As a book is published, 6 months ago when the book was being written and evaluated, edited, 6 months from now, the stuff that's in that book is going to be a little outdated at that point. You need to be ready to know what's out there. So my theory, if you want to look at it this way, is that I believe that within the next 5 years, we'll talk about student organizations or teams or departments. Next 5 years, you need to do two things. Number one, you need to embrace social media and talk about your strategy as a group. Number two, you need to work on that social media as a team, as a group, as one set of individuals focusing on something. Now, I know that our logical brains say that when you have a task within a group, that something should be focused on by one person, that one person should own it, one person should be involved, one person should be making decisions. It's very neat. Everybody has a position. Everybody has something to do. It's all part of a puzzle. When you put those puzzle pieces together, it makes sense. What if I told you that social media was part of the whole puzzle? Here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about social media as storytelling. Every voice in your every part of your organization has a story, and it takes the whole team to be able to tell that story. With teamwork, you put all your puzzle pieces together, all the pieces of your organization, all of your positions, and you put that together and you tell your story online through social media. Of course, there has to be somebody in there focusing the group, keeping it on track. That's in any sort of organization. But you also have the rest of the group with you, helping to keep it going and moving forward. So how do you do this? I'll give you a little bit of a plan that I think you can work on. You need to sit down. You need to set up your strategy. You need to talk about what the goals for your group going forward are. And don't just think about the goals for the next 2 weeks, the next 3 months, the next 6 months. Think about the goals that 2 years from now you want your group to be in a certain place. Now, you may not be in those positions in 2 years, but you're setting your group up for success and you're giving a foundation and a framework to be successful in the future. You need to be good at Facebook and Twitter. If your organization is going to be successful, you need to have good focused presence on both of those outlets. Now, when I say that you need to be good on both, common misconception is that you can't do the same things on both. You can. The same things posted on Facebook can be posted on Twitter and vice versa. But don't ever, please, do not link your group, do not link Twitter to Facebook and send things back and forth. Take the time and post things individually out to both outlets, make them customized to both, but the people on either outlet are going to be seeing information sometimes only once. You may not have people following you on both outlets. Twitter is now. Twitter is immediate. People are not necessarily going back in time and looking through their Twitter feed trying to find good content. They want to see stuff streaming when they're on there. So there's not really a set limit to what you can post on Twitter. Facebook, my suggestion, best practice-wise, is for now, try to keep your posts to under 10 per day. That may seem like a lot, but I'll show some examples later on. Once you're good with these two, incorporate Instagram. Specifically, Instagram gives you some great outlets. And when you get really good at that and you start being able to focus as a group, you can use programs like IFTTT and some other programs. They're going to automatically do things for you. IFTTT is great, if this, then that. It lets you go on and create what are called recipes for your organizations. You could take, now if anybody's ever seen Instagram, somebody hooks up Instagram and Twitter on their account, posts something, you get an annoying thing in your Twitter feed where you have to click on it, it takes you to Instagram. People are not necessarily likely to click on those links. If this, then that allows you to take that Instagram photo, put it in a recipe. Anytime you post something with a certain hashtag, it's going to move it over to Twitter on your Twitter account and create a new post for you. It does the same thing on Pages and there's all sorts of cool recipes you can use. When you're good with that, programs like HootSuite, TweetDeck, Social Oomph, those allow you to take things and post them as predetermined, pre-scheduled content. So you take, somebody in your group goes on, posts all your program stuff, all your pre-event stuff for the week on Sunday. 15 minutes before every event, your tweets are going out, and you're ready to go. But the foundation for all this and the talk of having your team manage your social media, it's trust. You have to know that the people within your group are all working toward the same common goal. One of the things I hear the most is that students don't want to let a lot of people have access because they're afraid students aren't going to post the right things out there. Well, if you set yourself up ahead of time and you're following that correctly, you're not going to let that happen. I say follow these three simple rules. Number 1, maintain a positive voice. Number 2, refrain from use of sarcasm on your social media outlets. Number 3, be human. That means respond to others, be part of the community, have conversations on social media. There's another rule on there, number 4, it means use common sense. Now these M&M, that's not really the M&Ms. The part of the trust is knowing how to address something if it's not done correctly. M&M, I use that phrase for a Monday morning. Monday morning is a phrase that physicians use when they're in a hospital setting and they're going to have a conversation about something that didn't necessarily go correctly. I use that conversation with the teams that I worked with is if something is posted out there that shouldn't be, we go back and have a little bit of conversation about it. It's not a public reprimand. It's not something meant to be detrimental toward people. However, it is supposed to show education about something that went wrong and having a conversation about how not to let it go wrong in the future. I'm going to share an example with you. So I've had the opportunity to work with social media in many different avenues. I've worked in professional organizations. I've worked on campus with it. I've worked with a couple different groups on campus. The example I'm going to use, LiveWPI. If anybody is familiar with that, that is a Res Services marketing campaign. It was started 2 years ago. And when it was started, it was not necessarily meant as a social media campaign, even though it does have a hashtag in it. It was meant to pull us together in some sort of a marketing campaign. LiveWPI did not have a ton of social media traction in year 1, but it did have a lot of print traction, a lot of out there traction. We did take it into a year 2. In year 2, that's when we really started to think about how we could do more with social media. I took a number of 18 work-study students, and I gave them access to the back channel of our social media accounts as an office. Now, that could be scary. That's giving students the access to go out there and post publicly anything they want at any given time, and maybe at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can't catch that. But we took a chance. We had a plan, we had training, we had discussion about what those parameters were and what types of things could be posted. We talked about strategy. We talked about rules. Those 18 students, they had access to Residential Services Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And so 2012, in the first year, these are some numbers. For most student organizations and groups and departments, these are respectable numbers. You'll see that we had 21 posts during a term of 2012. We reached 10,000 people. We had 719 clicks on our page. Those are respectable. We increased our number by 41 people. This past year, you can see that You can see those numbers in parentheses. We increased. People reached 95,000, over 10,000. We had almost 1 million impressions on people's pages, up from 44,000 before. 419 posts over 21. It was a lot of posts, but we didn't. The other thing is that we didn't see the amount of page unlikes. We saw fewer page unlikes in this time than we did the year before. You can't see it down there. I think it got cut off, but one of the things that we saw is that total page the post clicks. We saw, I believe, 444,000 in that time frame, over 719 the year before. Social media trick, if you don't know it, if you are part of a group, post photo albums. Photo albums end up on somebody's feed. They click through the photos. Every click on a photo counts as a page click. It's giving your page more traffic, more value. It's making the feed come up more. It's being seen by more people. Well, you can see it right there. Post likes. So we had a huge increase in numbers. That was something that was really kind of cool. We were able to assess that. We were able to see value, which meant that we were able to do a little bit more going forward. I give this challenge. Challenge you to sit down as a group. I want you to discuss your social media strategy. I want you to talk about removing the only responsibility from one or two people in your group and giving more people the responsibility. I encourage you to tell your story. Get out there, post as much content as you can, and show people why you're doing what you're doing. Because that's what the community needs to see. They need to see great students doing great things on campus. Thank you.